this is the first YouTube video on Dry Gin Martini, but I'm not going to act like it is because I used to make vlogs in high school, and this is just personally for me. So if you watch, I'm so glad you're here, but I'm just making these YouTube videos as a way to document my passion for cinema and hopefully, you know, a career in entertainment as well. But today we're actually going to go see Babygirl, which I've been wanting to see since it came out on Christmas and nobody would go with me. And I usually love going to the theater alone. I just saw Nosferatu by myself, but sometimes there's like movies that you need to experience with another, and I feel like I can't experience Babygirl without one of my friends there to then constantly make references to it and talk about the milk, you know? So without further ado, let's go to the movies. Guys, we're at the movie theater to see Babygirl. I was gonna prop you up, but there's girls across from me in their car and they look cool and I don't want them to like think I'm weird. So I brought popcorn and M&Ms because I don't want to spend any money on snacks. But if they have the Nosferatu coffin, I'm gonna have to be like spending a few extra dimes. I don't know. I also brought a Diet Coke. I didn't think we had any and I was pretty bummed, but we did. And then we have my notebook read. The difference between Regal and Flicks is if a movie starts at 4 at Flicks, the movie starts at 4. If a movie starts at 4 at Regal, it starts closer to like 4:30. I like previews, so it's not a problem. But I don't like being misled in terms of like showtime, runtime, how long I'm gonna be here. Bruh! Oh my god, I'm so cold. I'm freezing, but guys, that shit was good. I was gonna talk to you about it in the car, but it's too damn cold. I gotta go home. I will talk about this after. Just know I'm glad I went alone. Okay guys, we just got back from Babygirl. Here are all of my notes. These are my notes from the reviews. These are my notes from the movie. So we're going to get into that very shortly, but first we're going to talk about all the movies I watched this week leading up to Babygirl. Sorry to do that to you, but I have to. Here are the movies I watched this week. Okay, so just to give you the rundown, every single year starting in 2023, so 2 years ago, I started a letterbox log of all the movies I watched per year in chronological order. So this past 2024, I watched 224 movies, okay? So we're going to start off with the last 2 movies I watched in 2024 and then the 4 movies I watched as of 2025, even though it is only the 3rd day in January. So the first one is Nosferatu. Nosferatu came out on Christmas, as everybody knows. Directed by Robert Eggers, and it stars Bill Skarsgård, Lily Rose Depp, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Nicholas Hoult. How do you say his last name? This is why we have my computer, because I'm horrible with names and faces. Nicholas Hoult. Emma Corrin. It was incredible, and I knew it was going to be incredible. Like, the first time I heard that they were making this movie, like when it was announced and they announced the cast, and it was originally Harry Styles playing the role that Nicholas Hoult plays now, I was ecstatic because I'm a huge Harry Styles fan, but mainly I'm a bigger, like, movie fan, obviously. And Robert Eggers, I'm obsessed with him. So I was really excited. All year, I've been talking about it. I was like, all I want for Christmas is to leave the house and go to the movies, and I didn't get to. So I eventually went and saw it by myself. And I saw it by myself in the first row. So I feel like I need to go see it again in like the back middle, because there were 2 scenes where I feel like being in the very first right corner looking up skewed my vision of the entire scene. And one of them just so happens to be the full frontal scene with Bill Skarsgård, but whatever. Every single aspect of the film was amazing. Lily Rose Depp's performance was so incredible. It was so layered. Her like body, like the way that she like just acted with her body movements was obviously incredible. But I saw so many people online being like, I wasn't familiar with your game, because they consider The Idol to be a bad show, which I totally understand that sentiment. However, if you watch The Idol, Lily Rose Depp's performance is incredible. from first episode to the end of the season. Like, she plays this, like, insane, manipulative, like, complex child star. Oh my god, it's amazing. So yeah, you cannot like the show, but I don't know how people watch that and are surprised when Lily Rose Depp came out in Nosferatu giving the performance of, like, a lifetime. It was amazing. I thought the cinematography was so fucking beautiful. Obviously, I mean, if you've seen The Lighthouse, if you've seen The Witch, I have not seen The Northman yet. It's on my list. But they're just, every scene is, like, so perfectly curated to fit this, like, overarching, like, gothic, feeling that, like, these period pieces, though they're period pieces, they feel like they exist out of time. Like, it just feels like you're diving into, like, a fantasy folklore book. It was so incredible. And the final scene literally brought tears to my eyes. I'm not even being dramatic. It was so beautiful. The lighting was so, so beautiful. I love lighting. Lighting and production design, like mainly costume design, which we'll talk more about with Babygirl, are like two of my favorite things. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson's graveyard scene puts Barry Keoghan's to shame, and that's just what I feel like. But I feel like it's so much more complex than, I mean, it is necrophilia, but I think it's a lot more complex than just necrophilia. Also, I've heard so many people talking about the, like, grooming aspect of the film, and I don't agree. Moving on. The movie I watched of 2024 was Dogma, directed by Kevin Smith. So I was introduced to Kevin Smith in Degrassi when he was in an episode and they were, like, filming a movie and Paige was supposed to be the lead or something, and it's Jay and Silent Bob. You can only watch it on YouTube. If you type in Dogma full movie, it's, like, the first thing that comes up. It's grainy and there's no subtitles, which bothers me. However, you can still watch the movie perfectly fine. That being said, I need to see it in, like, 4K. It was so good. I love these kind of movies. So basically, it's about Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are angels on Earth because they, like, left heaven, but were also, like, banned from heaven. They can't return. And they're trying to get back to heaven. If they return back to heaven, this movie came out in 1999, so this will contain spoilers. If they get back to heaven, all of existence will in order to save the day, Alan Rickman, who is the voice of God, comes down to Earth and, like, basically hires an abortion clinic worker to, like, stop them. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, be the next, like, not a prophet. I wish I remembered what the word they kept using was. She had to, like, she would meet up 2 prophets and then they would all get together and save the day. It would be like a story in the Bible, obviously. And it was not only hilarious, it was ridiculous, it was absurd. The cast was insane. I mean, you have Alan Rickman, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, you have Salma Hayek, Jason Lee, like, all these, Alanis Morissette played God. Chris Rock is in there. Like, it was so absurd, it was so amazing, and these are the kind of movies that, like, are very hard to come by now. I just thought the commentary on Catholicism and Christianity and, like, how religion becomes this mainstream media threat rather than a faith. And my favorite thing about the movie is that they continue to refer to God as, like, a he, a she, an it, a they, a whatever, as just kind of an entity. And rather than having faith and, like, believing in the Bible and following these denominations, you can just have an idea of a God or a creator, and that's fine. And I think especially in lieu of so much, like, religious rhetoric online, it was really nice to watch that movie rounding out 2024. So just, I think you should watch it. I think you should share it with friends. And I think people should be more skeptical about religion in terms of the way that people monetize off of faith and, like, make money off of other people suffering. Anyway, God, I love Ben Affleck. So we're going to continue down this path, okay? I'm on my letterbox, by the way. So for 2025, the very first movie I watched was another Kevin Smith movie called Clerks. It is available on Pluto TV for free. I believe there were ads, but anyway, it was 1994. And basically it's about these 2 dudes that work in a convenience store, and then just a bunch of crazy shit happens. And this genre, this, like, comedy, coming of age, like, obscure happens in one day, happens in one setting kind of movies, I just absolutely love. And on TikTok, people always say that these are movies about nothing, and I want to write a piece about that because I just couldn't disagree more. Like, yes, they're like movies where like it feels in the grand scheme of things like nothing's happening, but so many things are happening in one tiny like little time that it's just like, how could you think that? Clerks, I just thought it was so funny, and I thought it was so absurd that they were just like in this convenience store that was also a video store, and they're like constantly selling cigarettes every 5 minutes, but all of these people that they know are just coming in and out of the store like constantly. I'm like, and then the main character, what was his? Brian O'Halloran plays Dante, and he's kind of having this like in your 20s crisis where you're like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I just work every day and I have no purpose and I have no drive. And his friend is telling him like, that's your own fault, which is so real, because there comes a point when you're like, that's why I love coming of age stories that happen during college or in your 20s or in your 30s, because you're constantly coming of age, you're constantly evolving. And once you get past like high school age, college age, whatever the appropriate age to like leave home is, it's really insane to think that you just have to have it all figured out. It's your first time doing any of this. Overall, I really thought it was hilarious. I thought it was really great, and I just love Kevin Smith's directing. Chasing Amy, if you've never seen it, watch that first. Out of anything I'm going to talk about, watch Chasing Amy. That was the first movie I'd seen of them before I'd watched like Degrassi full. At the end of the day, I'm always going to be a fangirl, and I think that's totally fine, and that's totally normal. So I watched The Town, directed and starring Ben Affleck. I knew what this movie was about. I've heard like the true story. I've seen a million TikToks of Blake Lively. It was on Hulu now. Might as well give it a watch. And it was incredible. It was incredible. I always forget how good like drama action movies are, because that's not really my go-to. Like big budget, like obviously Ben Affleck's directing, you've got a big budget. This movie follows Doug McCrae, who's a lifelong thief, and his buddy, played by Jeremy Renner. They're thieves, they rob banks, yada, yada, yada. Movie starts off, they rob a bank. And the manager of the bank, this woman, Claire, after they rob the bank, they take her hostage and they leave her on a beach. This woman is then distraught and traumatized because she was just kidnapped at her place of work. And they left her on a beach. She thought she was going to walk off a cliff, okay? Then, because they're really worried, they find out she lives in the same town as them. This town, I'm picturing this town to be like smaller than the town I live in. You didn't think like you know everything about the people that work at this place, but you don't know that the manager of the bank lives in your town and volunteers at the Boys and Girl Club that you're currently sitting in talking to each other? Poor planning. So Ben Affleck decides, you know what? I'm going to keep an eye on her, make sure she doesn't go to the feds or anything, whatever. So he follows her into a laundromat and falls in love with her, of course, and they have this like love affair, and he's hiding it from the bad guys, and the bad guys are all like, how's it going with Claire? Are you keeping an eye on her? So the one day Jeremy Renner stops by when Ben Affleck is having lunch with Claire and is like, what's going on here? And it's the most suspenseful scene oh my God. I was like, my skin was crawling. I was so nervous. And one of the main plot points is Jeremy Renner has a tattoo on his neck, and Claire remembers a tattoo on a guy's neck from the robbery. So when he's sitting down at the table, Ben Affleck has to strategically stand up and slap him in the back of the neck to cover it, so their cover isn't blown. Obviously, in the end, she finds out that he was the thief. The movie ends beautifully. Jeremy Renner gets shot in the face after taking a final sip of Coke, which totally relatable. Overall, loved the movie, and I think I'm gonna get a little more into action. Okay, the next movie I saw was Nightbitch, and I gave it 2.5 stars, and I'm gonna tell you why. Starting with the positives. Positives being, I am such a fan of Amy Adams. Anything she's in, she always, like, I love Amy Adams. One of my favorite movies is Nocturnal Animals. It's such a disgusting, creepy thriller, but it's so well written, and the structure is so, every time I watch it, I'm just on the edge of my seat, and part of it is just her, like, eerie ass performance in these huge glasses and dark lipstick. But anyway, Nightbitch, directed by Marielle Hellner. I thought the concept, the idea, like this whole like sentiment that being a mother, obviously it's super complicated, but it's also like within our human nature as like animal instinct to be feral and like protect your children, and also feel that a piece of you is now gone after giving birth, because like after a woman gives birth or a person gives birth, your whole life changed because you're putting all of your life into that other person to protect them. And so she goes on throughout this movie, like, talking about that instinct, while at the same time, it's kind of a body horror because she's slowly transforming into a dog. It was such a powerful story, but it just feels like surface level in terms of plot and story structure. Like, I wish they would have went full force into the body horror of, like, turning into a dog and being feral and protecting your child while dealing with a husband who doesn't understand a fraction of how hard it is to, like, be a stay-at-home mom. Anyway, I just feel like it could have been done better. I didn't like the movie as much as I thought I was going to, because I'd seen so many reviews about how powerful it was and how great it was, and I did think that, but I just, in terms of story and cinematography, I just feel like it was, like, not that great. Okay, it's okay to have those feelings. I don't know why I don't allow myself that. Let's talk about Babygirl, because this relates to Nightbitch a little bit in terms of motherhood and sexuality and your relationship with your body as a woman, etc. I knew I was gonna love it because I love Nicole Kidman. I knew I was gonna love it because I love sexual, suspenseful movies, and I knew I was gonna love it because Harris Dickinson's in it, let's be real. So, right from the jump, this movie has just such a beautiful cinematography, and I absolutely love the use of pink and blue to show, like, traditional gender roles. Like, Nicole Kidman, her first shot, she's, like, having sex with her husband, and it's lit subtly with a pink. First time we meet Harris Dickinson, he's wearing blue, the room is blue, like, everybody's in blue coats around him, and he's in this giant green coat, like, stopping a dog from attacking Nicole Kidman. So, beautifully shot. The green jacket that Harris Dickinson's character wears throughout the film, because it takes place in New York City and it's freezing cold, such a, like, specific costume choice that I could not stop thinking about the entire movie. It was such a, like, the largest winter coat I've ever seen a man wear in my life, and yet he still looked so, like, lean inside of it. Like, also, there's a scene, spoilers, there's a scene where they're getting into the elevator after the holiday Christmas party, and it's like, I think it's supposed to be another day, but that's impossible because she's wearing the dress from the holiday party and he's wearing the tie that he left on the floor at the holiday party. So I don't know if it was a flashback, even though, again, that doesn't make sense because he left the party without a tie. But anyway, that, like, scene kind of confused me a little. So, great stars, first thing I wrote. She's pink, he's blue. Like, it happens again later in the film when they sit down to discuss that they need to start having boundaries and rules for their relationship. And she's wearing, like, pink and looks, like, very docile and feminine, and he's in blue and he's, like, towering over her, like, being sassy as hell. And it just, like, kind of, like, made you subliminally, like, be like, these are the dynamics existing within the relationship. While on the other hand, when she's at home, she's in charge of work, she's in charge of her kids. Like, she was wearing the apron, and Antonio Banderas at one point goes, like, why do you keep wearing that apron? And it's because at home, she's this maternal figure taking care of her entire family, and then at work, she's taking care of everything. So, let's get into the argument about the, like, sexual relationship and the power dynamic between their two characters. I'm reading my notes here, so bear with me. The depiction of intimacy and desire coming from Nicole Kidman, it's so obvious. There's literally a line where, like, Esme's character asks, oh, what was your childhood like? And she was like, oh, because she was named by a guru. She's like, oh, I grew up in, like, cults and communes. That one line alone. And the light therapy that they showed, I wish I knew what it was called. It's like 3 letters. Gives you enough backstory to know that something happened in her childhood that, like, influenced her sexual desires as an adult. It doesn't have to be that, you know, that kind of thing happened to her when she was a kid and she's, like, yearning for that feeling again, or, like, I don't know, some trauma and that's her coping. It's just very clear that something in her childhood made her this way and that's how she feels about it. And then later in the film, she literally says, she's like, I just wish I was normal. Like, ever since I was a kid, I've had these super, like, crazy, violent, aggressive sexual desires, and I just wish I was normal and didn't have those. And Harris Dickinson's character understands that and is just kind of, like, accepts the relationship, though he does abuse, like, the power imbalance, even though it's kind of playing into what they have a little bit. It's just, I think it was such a beautiful representation of the complexity of intimacy. So the other thing that I wrote was, I think especially in Western media and like mainstream movies that come out in the States, involving sex and like 50 Shades of Grey or this or 365 Days or whatever other like sexual thriller movies or sexual movies of that nature. We are so used to like aggressiveness and like stark nudity from women and violence that when you see real, genuine, like natural, soft intimacy on screen, you get uncomfortable. Like when I was watching Babygirl, or when I used to watch like movies in my film classes for like world cinema and there would just be nudity all the time, at first I was always uncomfortable. I was like, oh my god, they're naked. But it's like, yeah, they're naked. Everybody has bodies and we're all naked. Like, we're so desensitized to violence and aggression towards women in the bedroom in film and television, especially in shows like Law and Order SVU or like just crime shows or true crime that people talk about where it's violence, like sexual assault and rape and things like that, that when you do watch a movie like Babygirl and they're having this consensual relationship with boundaries that is simply just her fulfilling her sexual desires as a grown woman, which she should be allowed to do, people are uncomfortable and suddenly it's like, oh, we can't talk about this. Intimacy should be an open conversation. It shouldn't be taboo to talk about those things because then maybe it would lead to less violence. In order for us all to succeed and become powerful and move into these places of power and like get the equality and representation in like corporate America or the entertainment industry or whatever industry anywhere in terms of career and work, in order for us to succeed, we need to be able to support each other. Okay? And what that means is you need to support Nicole Kidman's desire to have this relationship with Harris Dickinson, with Samuel, okay? Like, I totally get how Esme was like, you having this relationship is completely inappropriate and makes us look bad as women. But the difference is, if you have that mentality of like Nicole Kidman's relationship with Harris Dickinson was inappropriate. Was it? Yes, they worked together. HR violation. Mega, she was sweet. They were consenting adults. Was she committing adultery? Yes, but it's all complicated. It's so complex. So honestly, I think it's more backwards to be like, you're never going to see Samuel again because what you're doing is putting us backwards in terms of feminism. No, you are, because you're not letting me experience my full sexual desires with Harris Dickinson's character Samuel and his big green jacket. Like, I totally understand both sides, and I think that really added to the like depth and like, oh, I wish I could talk without saying like. And I loved how it was paralleled with the daughter and her relationship and how she was like, I do love that person, but sometimes you need something else. Because I feel like a lot of the time, granted, I've never been in a relationship. I certainly don't want my partner like having a secret relationship on the side. But I think these kind of complex relationships are so important and I love them. And I'd love to see more of it. And I'd love to see more conversation about Babygirl. Or we could have just all coexisted and like had this like 4-way relationship that like only met here. It was like assistant Nicole Kidman, Harris Dickinson, an assistant, Harris Dickinson, and Nicole, and then Nicole's husband. And these guys, like, there's no other connection. It's just like the perfect relationship. Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching. It's over. I don't even know if you made it this far, but if you did, I did post a blog recapping all of the 82nd Golden Globes, and that's up now on my Substack. You can also check out my website, my TikTok, anything. I don't know, look it up. I'll see you later. Happy Martini Monday. And chin chin. I wish I had something to cheers with you, but it's 3 p.m. on a Monday. I guess my Fight Club soap. Chin chin.